Welcome again to another round of Roughshod Ramblings. We are mixing it up with Aurical stones as well this week, as it is our Halloween get-together. Today with me, I have our regular co-host, our fantastic co-host, Auric Vibe 1111, and a special guest. We have Stephen from BG Cast. I did a fantastic show with him last week, and we just got to carry this on because this is good, this is deep, this is real, and this is what it is actually really about, is like stepping into who you are, how you got here, thanking the whole journey, and moving on to the next stage no matter what they throw at us, because we can identify them. So thank you everybody for coming. And Auric, how are you doing?
Oh, it's been a fun week. As we've been discussing, just lots of things going on. Things are good. Can't complain. Well, I probably could, but I'm not going to. Just, gonna take it for what it is at this point, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And how about yourself, Stephen? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm hanging in there. I have a lot of big life shifts occurring right now in my life, and I've been taking them in stride. Just adapting and understanding that I have trust and faith in the divine. So I am seeing where what the divine has in store for me, where this path is leading me. So, but other than that, yeah, I'm on the third day of a 3-day water fast. I still feel pretty good.
Oh, that's
good. I had a lot of energy this morning, and I actually channeled some stuff during my morning routine. It's really interesting how the fasting opens you up. It kind of it brings that divine spark in a lot more than when you're actually eating food. So yeah, it's been an interesting few days, but I'm enjoying it.
So how long are you going to go for on it?
So I'm probably going to go till tomorrow. I was going to do 4 days. Really what I was trying to do is just get peak autophagy. I was just trying to give myself a full system reset. It's been a while since I've done it, so it was about past due. So yeah, and I mean, it's just been water. I mean, I've still been doing, herbal supplements, which you can take. I've still been doing minerals. I've still been doing my creatine, because you can take creatine during a fast too. But I haven't had my omega-3s, my vitamin D, or anything like that in a few days, and I feel good. I'm out in the sunlight a lot, so I get natural vitamin D. So, but yeah, no, I'm actually quite surprised how much energy I have right now, and how I still have a lot of clarity and I have a lot of focus. So this might be a every 2-month thing now.
Oh yeah. No, we do it once every month here. Every 3 days we do a 3-day fast. I love fasting. Okay, I love fasting. The longest I fasted was 52 days.
Holy mackerel!
Oh my! Everybody was saying I was going to go on a spiritual journey. I couldn't see it all the way through. I couldn't see it, but there were little changes, and I could hear things better. My senses were online, and all of those kicked in. But it wasn't until I'd finished and gone back into the refeeding cycle, and I got it all just kicked in. The spiritual journey, the awareness of what I'd actually just done to my whole body, to all the different dimensions that I operate in. It has a huge ripple effect. It changed the way that I saw food. So I was already working in what I call kitchen alchemy, right? But now I took it to another step. It was like the thanks that I gave, the appreciation, it had all returned back. The awareness of what I was doing, what I was putting into this vessel became, I can't buy this because it's been vacuum packed. I can't because it's not out in the air. It's been already sucked dry and put, I couldn't do that. So I had to change what I was eating. And as soon as I start recognizing I'm going off the track again, time for another fast. So yeah, I'm addicted to the autophagy stage of it. When the stem cells are kicking in, they're cleaning up all the mess, they're getting rid of it, they're healing everything, and then I feel just so good. And then once I balance the ebbs and flows of energy that were going along, I didn't have a problem. I didn't get hungry. There was nothing like that. The second day was the hardest because of the headache. And I put that down to the parasitical entities, worms, doing what they could to latch on to the last bit of sugar or sweetness. And so what I did was I time it now with the full moon, because the parasitical entities in the body like to react around the full moon, the whole lunatic cycle. So I starve them the day before, and then I feed them castor oil, and then that flushes the whole lot out. And it's like, you didn't need to do an enema, don't need to do any of that, But I do the whole kit and caboodle when I do the fasting. I do the sun, I do the crystals, I do the water, everything. It's like, wow. I love it. Sorry. Yeah.
No. Very, very, very cool. So, when we were talking on my show last Wednesday, I told you that I'm a big believer in the as above, so below. I've seen it play out in so many different instances in my life. And so, you look at physical autophagy, you're also getting a energetic autophagy as well when you're doing this fast. So, and it is like, I feel like, because I'm already a Kundalini yoga practitioner. I do Kundalini Kriyas every day. So I'm already taking care of my subtle body system. I'm already taking care of my energy body on a daily basis. But like sometimes, you need to kick it up a notch. You need to put a little bit more elbow grease in, especially when we're having spiritual warfare thrown at us in every single direction, especially in today's world stage. And that's also helps keep the awareness of that too, because even some of the spiritual warfare even comes down to the food and what they put in the food. And that's why I'm so against glyphosates. I know, as a lot of us are, we're very against them. But here's the thing that they don't tell you about glyphosates. So in our mitochondria, we create endogenous DMT. This is a spiritual gateway for us. This is our endogenous stuff that we make on our own. It's not like we're going out and smoking DMT. This is the DMT that we make within us. The glyphosate actually destroys the mitochondrial mechanism that creates EDMT. And so that's something I wanted to throw out there as we get kind of further into the conversation, because the food is an attack, and we have to have discernment with what we eat. And I know it's easier said than done for a lot of people. I give people really good tips and tricks, though, on my show, where to find really good, clean, high quality food without having to break the bank. And one of my best secrets is Asian grocery stores. If you go to an Asian grocery store, they don't joke when it comes around to their produce and their meat. They like the good stuff. They like the high quality stuff. And you can actually go there and get really decent produce, like really good stuff and really good meat for a very low price. So that's kind of one of the cheat codes I throw out to everybody, because one of the biggest things is like, I can't eat organic. It's too expensive, and here in Colorado, I'm a little bit lucky because the difference between organic and regular food is cents as opposed to dollars. Like, the organic apple or the regular apples might be 69 cents a pound. The organic apples might be 89 cents a pound. Yeah. So, it's justifiable for me. But for those who don't get that luxury and aren't as lucky to have really good quality food, I tell them, go to an Asian grocery store. They have things like H Mart or Hanaru Foods, things, and you can get exotic produce there too that you can't get in certain places. At least here in the United States, like they have lychee berries, they have all different kinds of stuff you can't really get here. So that's my cheat code for a lot of people in our community, who are struggling to find really good, clean, high quality food, is you can go to an Asian grocery store and find plenty of that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. I started going there. I had this addiction to mushrooms. I never used to like them. And then, after my first pregnancy, it was all I ate. It was like, I just craved these mushrooms, and now I eat them raw. I also eat Amanita muscaria. I've done the whole macro, learning about the whole thing, And I love it. And it's
gotcha.
the knowledge for our vessel is within this vessel. It tells us when we react to something. Like, you know, we complain a lot of the sore knees as we get older. But if we work out what it is that the body is deficient in, why that problem is there, whether it's inflammation, whether it's water on the knee, whether it's past injury kicking in, there are ways that we can like oil our joints. You know, when you start putting in the right chemicals, we start doing the right thing. And this is one of the reasons I'm doing the 3-day fast once a month. I want to pick it up a speed so I go back into 3 days of fasting, and then the rest of the days it's OMAD. So I did that for a year, and that was absolutely amazing. It was like the clarity was there, the energy was there, everything was just like go, 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 but it was done almost in a slow motion reaction because, I felt clean, you know, and that's what got me out of the city and got me out of townships and into the country was I was seeing the toxicity levels from the lights in the streets flashing off and on when everybody was asleep, and they weren't even picking up that when they get up in the morning, they're grouchy and they don't feel good and they're lethargic and all this other rubbish. These frequencies have an impact on us. So, yeah, absolutely. Oh, no, heaps. No, I commend you on the journey of fasting, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But no, it's been, and I would just kind of want to bounce off what you were saying about the frequencies too. So I'm an electrician for my day job, and yes, the kind of at least here in the United States, we used what's called a 60 hertz or a 60 cycle AC current, and it's not a healthy electrical current. It's not. I've been in, let's see, we'll put it this way. I've been in main electrical rooms for buildings with in either like a 5,000 amp or a 10,000 amp service, which is like, that's a big building. That's a lot of energy in one place. And I've gone into these electrical rooms and I've had to do work in there. And you can feel it in your bones. That's kind of like the best way to describe it. You can feel it in your joints. Like as soon as I go in there, like immediately, like my elbows start to hurt, like my shoulders start to hurt a little bit. And this is something I've experienced throughout the whole reign. I've been an electrician for almost going on 17 years now. And so, yeah, we use very harmful frequencies when it comes to the electricity that we use. We use LED lights. I actually just did a show with Don Rogers on LED lights, and they strobe at 60 cycles per second. So it is almost something. Yep, they strobe 60 times per second. So there's a lot of it. We're being bombarded from every area, you know, and the one thing that I kind of tell people is do the best you can, you know, don't become so obsessive about it that you don't live your life. Obviously, you know, we're living our life on our spiritual evolution is important. We are meant to cherish this and this experience, at least in my eyes. But no, I mean, it got to a point, man, where it's like, you know, I have no fragrance products in my house anymore because they're endocrine disruptors. I ripped all of the lubricating strips off of my razors for shaving because they also have endocrine disruptors in them. And so, yeah, no, it's a full scale bombardment. You know, it's the food, it's the frequencies, it's the fragrance products, it's even the psyops and propaganda that are kind of pushed into our subconscious mind that affect our mental health. You know, it's a full scale, for lack of better words, attack. You know, it is, and it's ultimately, you know, making the right choices, making the right small choices, because a lot of people, they get, you know, even when it comes to the inner work too, you know, I mean, when we talk about the external and the internal, you know, and the external side, you know, you can make those small choices, like maybe be like, you know, hey, I'm gonna not go for the fast food or the crap food today, and I'm gonna go for something healthy and something clean. Or, you know, hey, maybe I'm gonna swap out some of my LEDs in my home for incandescents. So, you know, we don't have this this anxiety effect, because ultimately what they're trying to do to us, this parasite class, and I've actually borrowed this term from a Black Mirror episode. They are trying to keep us in a constant state of mesmerized terror and anxiety. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. So, I mean, you look at these lights, they cause anxiety to people. It causes stress. It causes heightened cortisol levels. And when people are in a constant state of stress and survival, they are not being in creator mode and creation. Yeah. What they are being pushed into is being a byproduct of creation by being in survival mode. Yeah. So that's what we're up against, you know, and of course, like people like us who have, you know, are on their great remembering. I call it the great remembering, because a lot of this is already within us. You know, at first you awaken, but then you begin to remember. Oh, yeah. And that's the stage in it that I feel. But in this great remembering, you know, we're sitting here and we're making this connection with the divine spark within us. We're activating our dormant DNA. We're doing the internal work. We're clearing the layers of the frequencies. So we're aware about this stuff. You know, we're privy to all of this, but it's the asleep population that's where it gets us, because it's easy to implement stuff like this, like these harmful things within the sleep population. Because here's a good example. Everybody's in survival mode and you're like, hey, we're coming out, you know, with LEDs. Hey, we're coming out with this new type of light. It's going to save you a lot of money. Doesn't matter the health effects of it. It doesn't matter what it does to people, but it's going to save you money. And of course, like they're going to say that, and everybody's going to be like, oh, it's going to save me money. Yes, I'm going to switch all of the lights in my home to LED and all of that. So this is how they do it. You know, they plan it like that. That's what I would call a little bit of spiritual warfare. They're using our psyche against us. And like we were talking about on Wednesday, these individuals, they understand the human psyche and the human consciousness, what makes us tick on a very deep level. And, you know, you have to give credit where credit's due. They do a good job of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Auric, do you want to jump in and say anything?
I mean, you were talking about remembering. So some of the other things, it's not just the cycles per second for the lights. And I think there's a huge variance between the LEDs, the fluorescence, incandescent, and how many times your brain actually cycles light through your eye. And one of the issues that we're all having, and everybody's been talking about, blue lights. Yeah. So one of the things that blue lights, from what I've read, does is it allows us to forget. And it does with the fluorescent lights, which you're going to find in most buildings, will actually put you into a state of relaxation, and it also makes you more malleable. Yeah. So from a psychological standpoint, you know, you're working in an office and your boss needs you to do something, you're going to do it. You know, yes, it's good to have the blue light filters on, but what that's also doing, even with glasses, and I don't know about Colorado, but here in Michigan, I don't care if you stand in your birthday suit. This time of year in Michigan, you will not get any vitamin D, even if it's a cloudless day, because of how those rays are coming through and bouncing off the ether. We're not going to get it. So it's something to keep in mind. Everybody's in their own place and their own space, but the rememberings thing is really huge. It's a scary thing between the blue light, the lack of light, and the lack of our getting access to red light, because that apparently is something that helps us heal, helps us grow our mitochondria. And the telomeres are also, it's possible for us to lengthen those, even though a lot of people said they're capped. We can still lengthen those. I don't know if you've heard of Brian Ardis, Dr. Brian Ardis. He's somebody you might want to look. Yeah, you might want to look into him because he knows a lot about the mitochondria. He also did a lot of studies on the venom that's in the hokey pokey and all the other stuff that'll turn you around. So
I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I mean,
you can't say it on air, because if you do, then bad things happen.
I mean, we'll just leave it to Rumble to let us speak our minds. So I mean, So I mean, most people I think that are going to watch this are going to pretty much pick up on what that is. But the rememberings, I think, even for us, I think we have to be really, really careful and continue to keep ourselves into check. And just because something feels good, that doesn't mean you need to be doing it. This is something that we have to really, really, really be careful. You guys are talking about fasting, and it would be good to hear an opinion on a daily fast. So some people can't go X number of days because of where their body is at, where their psyche is at, what they do throughout the day. And one of the things I want your opinion on is that I've heard people talk about just doing a daily fast where you keep yourself hydrated throughout the day. And it's not like you're binge eating at night, but you're eating in bits that are able for your body to handle, and then you just kind of go from there. Does that? I mean, what's you guys' opinion on that?
I intermittent fast on a daily basis. So I do a little bit longer of a feeding window because I was a competitive athlete for a while, but I've been boxing for 4 years at this point now. So I do a little bit longer of a feeding window, but no, intermittent fasting works. It works great. It has kept me, actually, it has kept my body in a very resilient state from doing it on a daily basis as well. Of course, I eat very clean too. I'm pretty much paleo without throwing the label on it.
Yeah.
But no, intermittent fasting has a lot of studies to back it up. It's had a lot of great results. It helps with insulin resistance, number one, too. Of course, all fasting will help with insulin resistance, but if you incorporate it on a daily basis, the theory and the science behind it, if we're going by the consensual science, is you're having insulin present in the blood for less time of the day. So you have to think, if you get up in the morning and you eat breakfast, you get an insulin release. And then depending on if you have a snack in between breakfast and lunch, you get another insulin release. And then, you have lunch, and then maybe, I don't know, some people might have another snack before dinner. It depends on their life and what they do. And then you get another. So you're having a collective, I would say 16 hours of the day that you're having an insulin release in your body. And by shortening it down to an 8, a 6, or even a 4-hour feeding window, you're only having insulin be present in the blood for that amount of time. So that's kind of the theory that goes behind it. But I've had nothing but great results with it. The one thing I will say, though, is if you are going to intermittent fast, I would not break your fast with carbohydrates. I would do like more of a protein and fats to break your fast. And then after maybe your second meal that you eat in your feeding window, you can do some carbohydrates, because that's the thing about me. Like, not all carbs are created equally. I know there's a lot of carb hate that goes on in our community. Potatoes, especially organic potatoes, squashes like butternut squashes, acorn squashes, things like that. Beans. I mean, I know some people hate on legumes, but when you look at a good source of carbohydrates and fiber and protein, beans can help you in that aspect as well. Sweet potatoes. There's fruits. I mean, there's a lot of like really good carbs that are good for you that you can eat. As opposed to eating refined carbs, eating the GMO wheat and everything like that as well. So like, that's what I recommend to people when they intermittent fast. They break their fast with protein and fats, let their body get adjusted to the food again. And then if you want to consume carbohydrates after that, because what can happen is, especially if you eat a quick digesting carb, after you break your fast, it's going to spike your insulin up so high instead of gradually. It could cause you to get tired. It can cause you to feel kind of like worn out and things like that. So that would be my only recommendation. But yeah, it's great. I mean, I like living this way. I have no problems with it. I usually eat right after I train, so to get that effect as well.
Do you want to explain what the eating windows are to people? If not, I will. It's fine.
Absolutely. So you have a couple of different eating windows you can do with intermittent fasting. You can do 16 hours fasted, 8 hours feeding. I'm currently doing like a 12 and a 10, just because the boxing burns a lot of calories, but that's just for me. But it's typical for people to do a 16-hour fasting window and an 8-hour feeding. But the good news about that 16-hour fasting window is you're asleep for 8 of those hours. So you really only have to go 8 hours when you wake up till you get your first feeding. And then you have an 18-6 okay, which you could do like 18 hours of fasting and then 6 hours of feeding. And then you also have a 20-hour fast with a 4-hour window of feeding. That's like the most extreme one. People who are looking for some sort of daily autophagy will usually go for that extreme window. I found that to be, especially because of my health and fitness goals, it was very hard for me. I tried it, don't get me wrong, but it was hard for me to get the amount of calories that I needed in a day in order to maintain weight or do anything like that along those lines. But yeah, no, that the feeding windows can be tailored and adjusted to your goals. I mean, you don't have to do a 4-hour. You can do an 8-hour. You can start, and maybe if you see that you can go a little bit longer without eating, and you're instilling that discipline in yourself, then you can maybe move down to a 6 and a 4. But just those feeding windows are the times that you can eat food.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much cut and dry. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, that's intermittent fasting. I do the 1 meal a day, which is it'll be like between 1 and 4 p.m. and that's it. After that, it's drinks, a lot of liquid, get that liquid through. I do turmeric and I do pepper. I mix the herbs and spices for the best, outcome. I add in the garlics and I do all my own fermenting and probiotics as well. So we add all of that into the equation. We have a shot of probiotic juice here or there. I make my own bean yogurt, out of the legumes and beans.
Very cool. Oh, yeah.
Cashews. Also make my own cheeses. My lookalike meat, what we call lookalike meat, is made out of vegetables, legumes, nuts, all of that. I combine the whole lot, and recently been playing with what do you call it? Satan.
Satan, yeah. I know it's Satan. I know, yeah. But no, I've had seitan. It's delicious. I've had a seitan roast for Thanksgiving before.
Yeah, I've been making it into like beef jerky sticks, really spicy. Just chew all day.
That sounds good. That sounds good. I would definitely try it.
But I've been doing. I started off doing. I don't know how many bananas a day. How many bananas a day? And then when I started seeing, I was getting my insulin was starting to rebalance. I started drinking loquat leaf tea. That balanced all the inulin and everything else out. And then I discovered molasses. And it just, when you're doing this, you will discover new little things that are going to benefit some organ in the system. When you have why am I doing this? What is the goal behind I'm doing this? You're going to get so much more than just losing weight or just getting physically fit. You're going to start learning about how your body and your organs work and how they react to things. After you've done this fast and your body's been reset, it'll give you the signals like, oh, you got an inner earache, or, oh, that tastes a bit funny on the tongue. You can start looking into, why does it taste funny on the tongue? What is my tongue reacting to? And then you can discover that, oh, I might have to wash my grapes in baking soda or vinegar or this or that. You start realizing, start seeing, like you were saying when we first came on, I don't see any organization or corporation, and I'm also looking along the lines of common law language here, that these systems that are out there taking from us, putting us into indoctrination camps and sending us to schools and everything, they're not doing anything in our best interest. They're working, everything works out for them. People who go through and get really high certificates and educations and all of this end up homeless because they're too overqualified, and they don't want to be. They want followers. They don't want overqualifications. You're going to ask too many questions. You're going to get bored too easily. You want to progress even further. You've got to be cutthroat, and it doesn't work. You lose yourself along the way. I've seen many really good organizations start with good intentions, with good people, good qualities, good moral compass, And then someone comes along and turns it to custard, okay, turns it to shit. Turns out saying, look, we want to implement this here, and these are the benefits you'll get from the government. But if you don't do it, this is what the government's going to do to you because you're not implementing it. So, you know, if you set yourself up as a team over here, you got to be really careful because it may be taken as a gang patch, and gang patches are outlawed here now. So you're not allowed to wear it. We're having children going to their gymnasiums and you know their sports teams and being pulled over by the cops and having their patches taken off them. But in actual fact, it's just a club insignia. They're going to go to their club. It's like it's getting crazy. How long do we have to go? Everybody is being so gentle and so careful in the words that they use and how they present themselves to everybody else because the rest of the world is losing it. They are losing it. You know, when you were saying earlier on, you know, we wake up to this information and it doesn't stop. We keep learning, we keep growing. We're not going to stop doing that. We might slow down for a breather, but we get to also see that we are doing it because we have to be the leaders for the next batch coming behind us waking up. They're going to be there. They are who we once were, looking for the truth, looking for the true answers, the true experiences. And, you know, with those out there that do their hogwash and their little dance and performances and stuff, it gets tiring after a while. People don't want to go back because it's not feeding them anymore, right? They've seen you for your true colors. We don't want that. We want the truth. We want growth. We want to be able to help each other out. I mean, when I get questioned on why we're here as humans, you know, humans, it's like we are not one being. We are multidimensional. And to tell us that we are one fixed static being and that's it, it's understandable how everybody else out there just stays on that one follow that sheep path. But when you step inside and start going, well, the only way to repair this is not by going to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that are going to give me labels and everything else and not actually give me the tools that I need to actually get myself out of these stuck states. You've got to do the work yourself. You've got to go, and it's not easy. It's not easy. But what I find is when I'm speaking with people now, I can recognize the work that they've done, where they're at, and possible trip-ups along the way. And I've learned a code. I've got my own code of conduct, and I always approach things with compassion because we're all reflections of each other. You know, we've all got some shit going on somewhere that we've got to consume ourselves with to sort out, and then we take a breather, and it's constant. It's constant. So if we can improve ourselves, we can help those coming along to improve themselves faster because they may be the lot that we go to in the next time round. So you know, we are reflections of each other. And if you want to have a really good life, what does that life consist of? And if you don't have any kind of goals, personal settings, goals, or moral compasses, you're going to get washed away with the wave.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing you and I, that's why when you came on the show and you started talking about the inner work, you were speaking my language, because in my opinion, the inner work is the absolute most important part of our spiritual evolution. Because think of in the way how I describe it to people is, think of it this way. So you have your subtle body, your energy body, your chakra system, right? And what happens through all of the things that we go through our life, the traumas, the bad experiences, you know, everything collectively actually gets stored in our subtle body. So ultimately what begins to happen is it's the equivalent of carrying around a 600-pound weighted backpack while you're walking through this world. And so many people have gotten used to it, they don't even realize that they're carrying it anymore. You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of the thing that I push on my show a lot. The inner work, while it gets down and dirty, you know, and it takes some elbow grease and it takes some internal grit to really push through that. Ultimately, that's what leads you to, I'm just going to use this word for the sake of being ergonomic, that leads you to true ascension. The rabbit holes are not going to get you to true ascension. Focusing on the exoteric and all of the different conspiracy theories and things like that, that's not going to get you to ascension. What's going to get you to ascension is cleaning out your insides. You got to be able to open up your closet full of skeletons. And you might open up that closet full of skeletons. You might look at it. It might be piled up 100 feet high, and it might span the depth of the whole room. But you got to pull up your big boy pants or your big girl pants, and you got to get to it. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong. Especially, we're going to have to face some of the things that happen to us along the way in order to acknowledge them and in order to heal them. So you will be facing some of that again, but the ultimate thing that you will be doing is by cleaning out your insides and your inner work and your energy body. That's what opens you to the different layers of the higher frequencies. Yeah. That is ultimately what will push you further, because ultimately what you're doing is you're conditioning yourself by healing yourself to handle these deeper truths that you are going to unlock in this great remembering. So that's something I talk about a lot. I get a lot of crap for saying that, because it seems like a lot of people in our community, they still just want to go look at the newest rabbit hole and run down that and distract themselves, or they want to look at the newest viral psyop that they put out and post memes about it for 3 months straight. Or, they want to just focus on things that are external of themselves. Not hating, I get like, yes, there's a bunch of different extraterrestrial races out there, but if that's all you're focusing on and you're not focusing on the healing within you, you're not going to get yourself to that frequency, that state of being, that state of consciousness that's ultimately going to allow you to connect with these other beings and channel these other beings. So no, I'm with you, Stone. That is such an important, that's the most important aspect of our spiritual evolution in my eyes, is doing that inner work, building and cultivating that bridge to your divine spark that's within you. Building that bridge, building it up strong, so it's always shining out into this external reality. And that's ultimately what makes you a creator in creation too. I don't like to quote him very much, but because after 2020, I won't say the word, he started going down the narrative with them. It sucks, but Sadhguru pre-2020 was amazing. He had a lot of good insights. I didn't agree with everything he said, but I agreed with that because, it is. You have two choices while you're here. You can either be a creator in creation or you can be a byproduct of creation. Yeah. And ultimately, making the choice to be a creator is the most empowering thing you can do. It's taking your power back. It's becoming a personally sovereign human being, a human being with personal agency, and really setting forth on the middle path, the path that's not very often walked. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I commend you on that. Absolutely. One of the things that I discovered along the way was, we as man, we haven't investigated, discovered all the treasures on this planet. We don't know what's under the sea fully. We don't know what's truly out there in space and stuff. We're not flying around with our own abilities just yet, but we will. I know we will. That's where I live, my head. For us to not be able to take notice of our full environment and the plants and the medicines that they offer us. And then if we're not taking notice of what's in our backyard, we can't be taking notice of what's inside our heart, what's inside our vessel, what makes us tick. I have to say, I feel very privileged to have had a lot of the paranormal experiences and encounters that I've had, because it allowed me to take myself out of this stuck vessel. This is what you are. This is what they say about you. They've put you in these boxes. So I was able to go, no, I'm so much more than that, because why would I have these visitations If it was just a once-off, that's one thing. But because it's constant all through my lifetime, there's something else going on there. So if there are these other beings paying some sort of attention to this physical incarnation here, I need to get on board. So, and so starting off with the fast allowed me to communicate with all the organs in my body. And when I got them into their wellness, it was like if I had had cancer or anything like that, it was gone. I did it mainly because I was suffering from, I had really bad endometriosis. And just the first niggle of that sensation, I knew that I had to hit the drugs. I had to hit that medicine, and I had to knock the body into numbness, because it would have me in a fetal position and it would knock me out. That's how severe this pain was. And there was nothing anybody could do about it unless I was going to go and have the jungle juice and an operation and all of this other stuff. I'm like, hey, no. I need to know what's going on with the body that makes my body do this in the first place so I can heal it. So I had to go within myself, and I had to communicate with the parts of my body that were infected and that were going through damages. And then once I'd done that, the fast was the medicine for me personally. Absolutely. May not work for everybody. If anybody does decide to go and do it, do your research first. Get to know you. Get to know what's comfortable. Just try one day at a time. Just don't do anything stupid. I was already doing semi-fasts, but once I got to day 4, I'd gotten so busy that I didn't know what day. I'd lost track of the days. So I was like, well, if I'm up to day 5, I'm not going to stuff it up by eating. I'm just going to see if I can do day 6, And then by day 10, it was like, oh, wow. I'm not hungry. I'm not this or that. And I've got no pains. And the first time that I got the inkling for the endometriosis attack while I was fasting, it was like, let's see what happens here. And all I did was I drank my salty water with a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it, and I downed it. And I just carried on walking around, breathing through it, communicating with it, saying, thank you for being here, letting me know that I'm not quite on track yet, and it buggered off. It went. The pain went. It subsided, and it went. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then after the fast, I had noticed because I'd get them every 2 weeks, get an attack every 2 weeks. And it's bloody crippling. Right? You don't know when it's going to happen. Anyway, I stopped getting them. I stopped having these attacks, and then before I knew it, it was a year. I hadn't had an attack for a whole year. And then I'm on I think I'm on year 3 now since.
Very cool. Oh, yeah.
I had a negligence.
Oh,
we lost her.
Yeah, I know. It happens.
It happened last Wednesday. Yeah. No, I waited for I held space for her when she came back, though. I'm just going to write off what she was saying, though. No, what she's essentially saying to me is a form of biofeedback. You listen to, especially if you're going within and you're going into your internal space on a daily basis. There she is. Okay. All right. You want to pick up where you left off?
Okay. Yeah, I got a niggling, and it was just a reminder that I needed some more vinegar in my system, or I needed to do an extra day on the fasting. And so I have everything ready in case I ever get another attack, but I have to say, touch wood and whistle, I'm pretty good at the moment.
Awesome, man. Well, no, I'm very happy for you. And I am that you were able to handle that, and you were able to go within and communicate with your organs and parts of your internal structure to actually find out what they need. I've always called it biofeedback too, like just adding to what you were saying. It's a practice. Yeah. You go into if you're going into your inner space, if you're doing meditation, or you're doing internal alchemy, whether it be Kundalini Kriyas, you're doing Nidhan, Qigong, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to open up and foster a connection with your physical emanation. So I call it an emanation. I've had experiences that have led me to believe that a lot of people like us, we are emanations of what I would call immortal spiritual beings. And so we are here. We have a physical emanation. We're emanating our consciousness here. But what that does is that opens up this gateway for you to communicate with your insides and your internal structure. And you kind of even just nailed it, looking at what's right in our backyard, what's right in front of our faces, and what the earth is providing too. One of the things I talk about on my show a lot is how we've been hyper conditioned since we've been entered this world to always look without instead of looking within. You are hyper conditioned to look without for the answers to the bigger questions in life, which we know if you're looking without for those, you're not going to really get the truth, or you're not going to get the answer. We've been hyper conditioned to look without of ourselves for validation, for love, for all of these things. And we've been conditioned to thinking our health is hyper complex by the corrupt medical industrial complex. And really, when you get down to it, in my eyes, spirit is always simple. Like, yes, we can have complexity emerge from that, and it's okay to entertain the complexity. But when you get really down to the meat and potatoes, spirit's very simple, and our health in terms is very simple. And kind of how I go off of it, I use the old Vedic science principles when it comes to always maintaining a good state of health, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And one of the first Vedic principles is a positive mindset.
Yeah.
And people think that this is, when I tell people that just merely having a positive mindset in your life can drastically transform your health, I get looked at like a biblically accurate angel, because they want to believe that their health is so complex. Yeah. That something as simple as maintaining a positive mindset in your life can't possibly fix my health. That's the mentality. Yeah. But in all honesty, it can, because when you're in a positive mindset, what happens is your cortisol is down. All of these inflammatory hormones in your body are down. So when you're in a positive mindset, your body actually heals itself at a faster rate than if you are in a constant state of fear and mesmerized terror all of the time. So that's another reason why they keep us in that constant state of fear and mesmerized terror, because it does. It takes a toll on the health of the body. The second thing is kind of a combo in the Vedic sciences. It's sunlight, clean food, and clean water. Yes. So three very simple things. As I know what Auric was saying there in Michigan right now, you're not getting that. I live a mile closer to the sun. So even out here, they've done tests. We are getting the rays we need to get vitamin D out here, which I'm still fortunate enough to do. But in the winter, I know a lot of people say vitamin D supplements are toxic, but there are some that are actually really good. That can help you through the winter when you're not going to be outside a lot, to get some additional vitamin C. I would just tell you this: if you want to avoid the toxic ones, don't go for any mainstream brands. Try to find like a small company or a small mom and pop company that's making vitamin D supplements. Definitely check the ingredients if they want to tell you about the process that goes into doing it. Also, that's always a plus if they want to explain the process that's going into it. But no, sunlight, clean food, and clean water, living water. Not all water is created equally. So, and we know that. But then the third thing, I'll make it quick. With the third thing is some form of meditation. And of course, what I tell a lot of people on my show is you don't have to sit and meditate. You can go walk and meditate. There's many different ways. I know people who meditate when they drive. That's their meditation time when they're driving. It clears, they have non-attachment with their thoughts, and they're on a long drive or whatever they're doing. And that's when they meditate, and that's when they get channelings and things like that. And then also too, the fourth thing is exercise of any kind. Like you don't have to. A lot of the old yogis, like back in the day, aside from doing yoga, and if you look at a lot of people in the blue zones, like out, especially like in India, in Asia and things like that, a lot of these people, they walk at least 2 miles a day. That's really all they do. They just walk 2 miles a day. It's as simple as that, just to go out there and get some exercise. But yeah, no, those are, I mean, that's all you need to be healthy. Honestly, it really is. And that's why, I try to dispel the myths. I try to simplify things for a lot of people on my show. I especially did an episode on the subtle body. It was my second episode on the subtle body, the last week before our show, Stone. Yeah. And it is, it's just a lot of people, a lot of people in our community, they like to overcomplicate things, So like, I'm the guy who likes to come around and be like, listen, like, you don't have to circumambulate the mountain 13 times at 3:33 p.m. every single day in order to be doing something right. You do not have to take a boat voyage to the Himalayan plateau and then hike 13 miles to a monastery just to meditate. Like, a lot of this stuff, I talk about what I call, we're in a new age. And I don't mean like the new age community. I mean, like, we're in a new age right now. We have many different ways to access the divine and to have a connection with the divine. And that's why also too, I mean, you look at the crown chakra the crown chakra, it has thousands upon thousands upon thousands of lotus petals. And what does that signify? That there are thousands upon thousands of ways to communicate with the divine. So I'm bringing forth what I call a grassroots spirituality, or almost even like a blue collar spirituality, and trying to filter down a lot of this complex esoteric information, especially from the old books, because we all know a lot of the old, like the Kabbalion, all of that stuff is in spiritual speak. And, you try to hand somebody a book like that today, they're going to take a look at it and they're going to be like, oh my God, like, don't get me wrong. I read the Kabbalion. I sat there and I sat through it and I grinded through it and I looked at it. And I mean, I like that book. It's a great book. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring like the simplified version to everybody so people can start embodying this into their lives. They can start living it. And they can see that just by simply living the spiritual principles in your life. Yeah. That is God in and of itself. That is the divine in and of itself. One of the biggest things I have disagreements with some of the spiritualities of old too, because I say we need to expand upon them at this point in time. Not saying there's not a lot of great things in there. There are archetypal doorways that led each of us to where we are today. And there's no merit in them. But when you look at some of this stuff, especially from the age of Pisces, which had a very stark and strict fundamentalist mindset when it came to things, a lot of that stuff doesn't apply in today's world. So we have to find a way to make this work. We have to find a way to make this fit. And ultimately, it's by embodying these principles. It's not worship. It's not, going out and, meditating at the hour of Shiva every morning because, like, that's what this book told you that you had to do. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing it right. No. Everything boils down to intention. Everything boils down to embodiment. Okay. We have instead of talking about it, be about it. That's ultimately the thing that I say to a lot of people, instead of just talking about a Kundalini awakening. Have you ever done Kundalini yoga? Have you ever given it a shot? Have you ever tried to, don't get me wrong. I know there's more than one way to get a Kundalini awakening, but, I'm like, have you ever tried it? No. So why are you just talking about it instead of actually doing it? Yeah. And so we're in that phase right now, even kind of what you were talking about earlier, how, this parasite class, these people that are not in our best interests at all, are consistently just hacking away at us with spiritual warfare. We need to stop talking and we need to be about doing. We need to learn how to say no. Yeah. And it's not, and whenever I say things like this, everybody gets the mental image that I'm saying, march down to your local state capitol with pitchforks, torches, and Molotov cocktails and go say no to them. No, because that's exactly what they want. They want us to act up like that. They want us to behave in that way because then they can implement stricter control on the general collective. So how do you say no? It's choosing the content that you watch, a great big thing, to talk about. Yep. Are you watching the viral? Are you watching the polarizing? Are you watching the dramatic? Is that all that you're watching? Like start learning, start watching. After School is a damn good channel. Like, on YouTube, After School, it has micro learning in it. It's got like these 15, 30-minute videos of these lectures, these TED Talks. And, it helps you learn. It helps you grow and things like that. So the content you're taking, the food that you're eating, what you're putting your currency towards too, because I don't know how it is in New Zealand. I know probably Auric can agree with me how it is in the States. Our dollar is like one of our biggest votes. Whatever brings in money and whatever makes money is ultimately what is amplified and what is provided to the general masses. So instead of putting your money towards the false matrix system, start putting it towards the small mom and pop shops, or start putting it towards the things that you wish to see to come to fruition in this new earth. So these are just examples of how we can say no. I don't know if you guys know who Karen Holton is.
Yeah.
She's on my network, but we did a show where she told me a story about how she went to the airport and she didn't want to step in the X-ray machine and get irradiated.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'd rather you just pat me down. I'll take the minor inconvenience of doing that. And that's also too like something we have to face when we move from just talking to action, is we have to understand that action is sometimes going to minorly inconvenience us, but we have to take that, and we have to understand that by us saying no, that no from us embeds itself in the collective consciousness of humanity. And then that no, when more people start to say no, that no starts to grow. And that it grows in energy. And now, excuse me, you'll have it through, some people call it the morphogenic field. Some people call it the 100th monkey effect. I do believe because we are all part of a collective consciousness, we do at some level share information with each other, most certainly. So as soon as the no starts to grow in the collective consciousness, then other people are going to start picking up on the no. And then it's going to start having other people, maybe who you never thought before would say no to certain things, start to say no. So that's ultimately, yes, we have to start embodying. We have to start learning how to say no. We have to move. Don't get me wrong. Discourse is all good. We have to talk about things, and we have to dissect things, and we have to dive in order to break them down and bring them to a tangible level that we can integrate into our spiritual evolution. But when all we're doing is talking, that's when it starts to be bad, and that's where it starts to fall into into a polarity that we don't want it to. So that's just my take, though. I'd love to hear what you guys think.
I'm going to let Auric have a go, and then I'll jump back in because I wrote notes.
All right.
Right, because I think you kind of cycled around to a couple of different things. You were talking about your thought life, and your thought life is definitely going to be affected by what you eat, what you consume, and what you watch. What you think, what you're watching is what your eye is consuming, and it's affecting your thought life. It's definitely affecting the whole rewiring. You're rewiring yourself, especially if it's something that's consistent. I'm not sure if I could even find it, but even the fields that are all around us, and there were some old newspapers when they were first putting up the telephone lines and the telegraph lines across the US, that the workers were having to be replaced because they were dying from putting up all the equipment, and nobody talks about that. So that really kind of is part of it too. Our thought life is definitely affected by those fields around us and through us, that we're kind of accepting as a norm. Even the computer I'm sitting next to, or the phone that's sitting right here, or I don't have a smart thermostat. I want my house to be dumber than me. I don't have any of the smart appliance stuff. That's just something. Hi, Arizona. That's just something that we have to take ownership of. And it's like you said, that you got to do something, and you don't want to be with the torches and pitchforks, because that was the thing and the theme of the old. And if you want a different result, because they've tried that for too many multiple millennia, if not eons, that so-called strategy, because that's what they try to force, whoever they are, go do research on that one. That'll talk about a rabbit hole. But it's the thought life, and you guys both made a really good point, and I immediately thought of Dr. Joe Dispenza and what he went through with repairing his body. I don't know that everybody has to travel those kinds of paths, whether it's a Kundalini awakening or just learning how to do yoga or any of these other modalities, because we're all here to have that unique experience. And I think the biggest challenge for all of us, so one finger forward, three back, that we're not to judge each other for these paths. So if you do sit on your bupkis and eat the popcorn and watch everybody else do this so-called work, maybe that's what you're here for. Maybe you're here to just go sun on the beach. Just don't complain about it. It's just like they say, hey, you want to identify as a doorknob, just don't expect me to pay for it. So it's the same idea, is that you have to take ownership of your own life, your own thought life, your own consumption of whatever it is, whether it's through your ears, eyes, or mouth. Yeah. And that will affect your thought life. That will definitely, each and every one of those will affect your thought life, and how you accept other people are coming across to you. You don't, if you say somebody offended you, you offended yourself. You permitted whatever that individual said to affect you in a negative way. In the jobs that we have, there are some things that people have said that were less than pleasant. On a semi-consistent basis. So, and if you take it personally, you're going to live a miserable life in this work. If you take it for, I need to figure out why they're saying these things, it's not about me. It's about them being in a really bad place. Yeah. And helping them realize and empowering them to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. And like you said, the big girl and boy panties, and they need to be able to get up and walk themselves. So it's all about that thought life. Yeah. It's all about what you're going to consume: ears, eyes, nose, mouth, whatever you got. Even our clothes. Weren't we talking about that, Stone, the other day? Yeah. About wearing natural fibers. This is cotton, cotton. You can get something called mulberry silk. That's way cheaper than and it doesn't have to be organic, but do be careful with the whole how they process it. It can be a toxic process with cotton. There's stores. We have with our recycle industry over here. They recycle old plastics and the toxicity of it all, and then they're turning it into fabric. Okay, it's being worn to keep people warm. But my issue is I tried a bit, rubbed it on my skin, got a reaction. So that told me that my skin, my hairs on my skin weren't being able to pick up the information as antennas as they are. It felt like my arm couldn't breathe because it was starting to sweat. And the reaction was not normal. So I had to put that fabric back. It was 10 seconds later, this woman came up to us and she said, "Oh, don't buy that." And I said, "Why not?" She said, "Because it's made out of recyclable rubbish and it's not good for your skin." And I turned around and smiled and said, Thank you for that." And I know that it would have taken her a hell of a lot of balls to come up and say that to a total stranger. It was like it was her first time coming out and saying, hey, don't. And this is the thing, you guys you both hit on it. It's like we've lived in societies for such a long time under somebody else's thumb that having our own confidence, being able to acknowledge ourselves, our self-worth, that was trampled on a long time ago, and here we are in our 40s, 50s and 60s, and we're like,
hey, it's time to say thank you to myself for getting through this, to get it here, to be able to see all those different stuck states that were directed by other parties, telling me and others how to live their lives. And one day it was like, no, I got to take responsibility for this. Anything that this does is my responsibility. That means putting it in and what's coming out of it. So, anyway, I started to go off track. I'm trying so hard to stay on track.
What track?
Yeah, I know. I don't have tracks. I know. I'm a spirit.
Not permitted. Not permitted. Nope, not permitted.
No, I mean, you said I kind of want to give like a little bit of a comment to Auric real quick. I identify as an abstract concept, but I pay for that myself. I don't let anybody else pay. I don't let anybody else pay for that for me. But kind of touching on what you were saying a little bit. No, I completely agree. Everybody's got their own path here, their own unique path. And ultimately, that's why I do my show, and I try to do my show the way I do, to try and simplify this stuff for people so they can understand it at a deeper level, so they don't feel so stuck, because there's a lot of people who are just kind of on the edge at this point in time, and the edge of understanding. Like, they cling to the conspiracies and they cling to that because that's where they got their start. Like, don't get me wrong, but I'm actually gonna borrow a quote. I don't know if you guys know who Emily Moyer is. If you don't know who she is, I highly recommend you check her out. But one of the things she says that just rings true with me is the conspiracies are true, but that's not the point. The conspiracies are true, but that's not the point. The point is that every conspiracy, every rabbit hole. I mean, why do all conspiracies and rabbit holes have esoteric and occult ties? Why? That's just not a coincidence, is it not? So no, I get what you're saying. Like, a lot of people have their own path, and there's some people who are just here to sit and watch the popcorn. Don't get me wrong. But then again, those same people are complaining about how horrible everything is and how they're black pilled to death, and how, we're all doomed. Let's vote for Giant Asteroid 2028 and things like that, because we're all just doomed to begin with. And I'm like, that's just to me, I get it, but that's a very bleak mentality to me. And, it is. But
then it's our job to overcome that. It's our job to not everybody's, but it's also, hey, you made a good point. It's raising awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people might not, because let's face it, it's not all love and light and
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Yeah. It's not all love and light.
There's unicorns and leprechauns.
Yeah. It's definitely not. There is darkness. So
there's shadow.
Yeah. So shadow, tomato. But Stone, kind of going off what you were saying too, is what was I gonna say? But you were kind of saying something about taking our power back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we call it mana. Yeah. We call it mana. Okay. You find your self-worth, you're valuable, that if you go and work for another person, you know what you're doing. All right. You take responsibility for your actions, and that's being true to who you are. What kind of life do we have if we can't be honest with ourselves? That's where my mana comes from. So it's got these attachments called moral compass, self-communication, daily risk assessment.
Absolutely.
It's about acknowledging that we are here in this time, this now, and we are experiencing everything at once, and it's not just here, it's multidimensional. And for me, it's like, I was raised in darkness. I was in the dark. Oh God. And I don't know how I got here, because I always said I'm never going to be love and light, and I'm never going to be an angel, and I don't want any of those stereotypicals coming my way, And at one stage I got called witch. I got called every name under the sun. But it was no, I have to accept at some stage that I have these abilities, and these abilities have actually kept me safe. Regardless of the humanity that has been around me at the time, it's these abilities that have kept me safe. They've got me out of a time when I could have been stabbed. They kept me alive when, I was strangled. It's like there's all these weird things. And so it's like, thank you for all that you have brought me to make me aware in the now for whatever's coming in the future. And by being able to tap into my inner self, I was able to go into portals so that I can fix stuff now, so that when the future shows itself to me, I'm already there. I'm already prepared. I know what's coming. So it's like, okay, stay calm. This whole karma. What is your karma? How do you produce it? If there is such a thing, why is there so much war and everybody's going to get theirs? And we need to be looking at how it comes about in the first place so we can do something about it. Because one of the sayings I used to have, you can't change what you're not aware of. But as soon as you become aware of it, you become responsible. You become accountable, and that's where my head lives. Yeah. I'm loving it.
I completely agree with you, Doe, and I've even seen that in my own experience. The more aware you become, the more you're held accountable for. And if you begin to backtrack and make those same mistakes, I always call it I used to use instant karma for it, but now I call it like the divine backhand. It's almost like what you get like the divine backhand. So like like let's say like you've grown and you've done your inner work, and like you've gotten yourself to a point. Like in my case, I've been a recovering drug addict for 17 years at this point. I've been clean for a long time. But I remember in the beginning, like, cause I didn't even get a chance to tell my story a little bit. I'll do that. Kind of adds up, but I woke up back in 2008 at the young age of 20. It was, it was kind of a full circle thing for me. I had just gotten out of drug addiction. I was done living life the way that I was living it. I wanted to get healthy. I wanted to get my mind right. And then I ended up finding Gnosticism, Buddhism, Taoism, Jainism, things like that. I come from a Greek Orthodox and a Roman Catholic background. Like my mom's side of the family was Roman Catholic and my dad's side of the family was Greek Orthodox. So I literally grew up in the middle of the schism. Like, I grew up in the middle of the schism. Yes, I did. And I got to a point where I always believed in God. I always believed in a creator. I just felt that I was done with organized religion. I'm like, they got it wrong. There's something else here. So like back when I was 20, I ended up finding Gnosticism, Taoism, Buddhism, Hermeticism, things like that. Spiritual alchemy, Jainism, all that. And I was like, wow, this takes account, like this is balanced. Like it's a balanced approach. It's not like if I accidentally make a mistake, I'm going to get stoned to death. Because if you guys don't remember, Saint Stephen was stoned by Paul in the Bible. And that's why I kind of got beef with Paul. Nonetheless, but my namesake, and then, I found Gnosticism, all that. I got on my health journey back then, too. I started to live a healthy lifestyle. I started training, working out, building muscle, all of that stuff to get into a healthier state. And that kind of sent me down the awakening, too, because I was like, why is all of the good food that we're supposed to be eating so ridiculously expensive? But then all the crap food that we're not supposed to be eating is very cheap and widely available. That doesn't make sense. That seems like you're trying to shove a square peg into a circle hole. And then the other thing that kind of led to it, too, was in 2008, it was the recession here in the States. And young 20-year-old me was like, I should learn how our financial system works. Why is it always so fucked up? Like, why is there always something wrong with it? We're always in debt. We're always in a recession. We always got something going on. So, like, what's the deal here? And then I found out about the Federal Reserve and how the Federal Reserve operates. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, if this was common knowledge, I think everybody in this country would be noping the hell out of this, like, rather quickly. But it's not common knowledge. People, it's fallen to the wayside. It was lost in memory, you know. So, and that's ultimately what geared me up to this. And basically, I joke, young 20-year-old me paddled his little lifeboat out to the esoteric Marianas Trench. I didn't have a life jacket. I left the paddle in the boat and I jumped into the esoteric Marianas Trench. And that's where it got me today. But no, ultimately, that where I was getting with that, I kind of lost where I was getting with that. I lost my train of thought there, but it's fasting brain at this time. But
it's being accountable.
For being accountable. Yes, no, and ultimately, taking accountability for yourself, and everything that you intake is of the utmost importance.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get there, but that's how I kind of learned the accountability thing, man. And I remember now. Instead of making the back steps and being aware and being accountable, but that's what would happen. So like when I first started getting off drugs, there would be times I would slip up.
Yeah.
And I would relapse, and luckily that hasn't been for a very long time. But in my young 20s, that would happen. But it's like, since I got on my spiritual evolution when I was 20, and about like 21, 22, like I was like, man, we'll do a little bit of drugs. Like, it's not going to be a big deal. But every time something like that would happen, I call it the divine backhand. Something would happen like that would really like almost derail my life just from one use.
Yeah.
All of these instances of me, trying to still dabble in things that I shouldn't have been dabbling. Every time I went to dabble, something horrific would happen. Yeah. It just seemed like clockwork. And that's ultimately one of the big reasons why I was like, screw it, dude. I don't need to be dabbling anymore. I just need to move forward. Yeah. And so no, you will see as you grow and you become more aware, you will be held accountable for more. It's like an increased responsibility. For yourself, ultimately, that you're kind of bringing forth. So got a little bit all over the place there, but
it happens. This is what Roughshod is about. We're doing it, and all of a sudden it's like.
I think that I think that kind of fits into it, because each and every one of these components pulls together as a unique experience. So it's kind of like we're each here gathering a collection within a collective of those unique experiences, and we're just adding to. I mean, if you studied Hermeticism, if you've done anything with people like Neville Goddard, who has the concept of what the origin is in each one of us is an aspect pushed out of the God center or the source, the unified, whatever moniker you want to put on it, we're each one a unique aspect. So when somebody says, oh, I found my soulmate, it's like, well, sorry to hate to break this to you, but we're kind of all that to each other, just at a different cycle of frequency. And frequency, when people think of frequency and being an electrician, it's not a sine wave. It's something that's multidimensional. When you're dropping the pebble in the water, and you watch that slow motion where that drop pulls up. But if you really look at it from a multidimensional aspect, it's not just what you visually see. There's also sound to that. There's also light refraction to that. There's also what's happening underneath the water. And when you speak a word that's formed in, somewhere in our mouth, depending on what language you're speaking, that it's right here. But if you think of it as a bubble and it expands out, it's back of our head, it's out over here, and it goes out into the ether, and it just expands through our whole body. So when you're talking, you can feel this in your chest. You can feel this through your whole body. And it affects everybody through that. You mentioned we're all connected instantaneously, and that's the quantum entanglement, where it is instantaneous. where someone did a study on, they removed this, he was a beautiful singer, and they removed a little bit of blood and they put it in a vial and they put it inside the soundproof box. And then they took another sample and put it in a tube, and he sang. And it was amazing listening to him sing. And so the scientist took that sample and he put it into this register thing of the one that was in the soundproof box, and it was completely dead. There were no living cells in that blood sample. He took the other thing and he kept getting errors when he was putting it into the machine saying that it was, please put in a proper sample. So what he ended up doing was putting it under a microscope. So not only had the blood was viable, it was still alive, it actually continued to grow.
Interesting.
And it was just from the sound of the man's voice. And it's just like they did another study where they had, again, it was with the blood, and it was removed from someone's body, and they did it with several people, and they would show them horror movie, and they must have, these people who did the sample had cancer cells, and the mitochondria were dormant during things where they were sad or watched a horror movie or were thinking negative thoughts. But as soon as they got them laughing and enjoying each other, watching a funny movie, the exact opposites happened to the mitochondria. It woke up and it started to consume the cancer cells. This is not just within that person's body. It was in the sample outside of them.
Yeah.
So very it's still, there's that quantum entanglement that's going on. None of us are scientists. None of us are certified nutritionists. None of us are medical practitioners. We have we both have a psych backgrounds.
Yeah.
So we all have our own little belief systems. So having said that, go do your own research, go be safe with yourself, and don't do anything stupid like Stone said. Yeah. So that's the whole idea, is going out and being your unique collection of unique experiences. And that's how you're going to benefit the collective.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Just want to jump in. I'm an ex-QPT, you know, I'm a phlebotomist, take people's bloods, and then I would look at them through in a lab technician. I'm a lab technician. And what I've discovered while I was doing that was every blood cell was a living entity of myself. Every blood cell that I was looking, because I wanted to know why the government wanted my blood every year, because I have my own immunity to tuberculosis, which is another story through the genetic manipulation in the bloodline. But anyway, so I wanted to know what was going on. And through that, I actually got to see there is a arrhythmia inside each blood cell. So it's a living organism. It has an auric field on the outside. So it has the same spiritual concepts that we have. When we have an auric field around ourselves, when I look at people's auric fields, I'm seeing dimensions that they are accessing. Okay, which one stands out the most is what they're accessing. So like if you go and look at a rainbow, whatever color from that rainbow stands out the most brightest to you, that's more than likely the dimension that you are working in. It'll probably also correspond with the colors of the clothing that you're wearing, because this is all frequency, you know. So when I was able to see how these blood cells lived, how they were healthy blood cells, how they moved, you know, rapidly around the system and all of this when they were healthy. And then as they started to decline, how they would clump together with the older cells to make sure that they use their collective energy to do another circuit around the system before being dissolved and reabsorbed. So that gave me, well, if I am full of these living organisms within me, I better take care of it. So, yeah, you know, it's like I now honor the vessel that I'm in for, you know, for all, you know, I love the shape that it's ended up being. You know, I don't get cold very often. You know, there's all these little aspects. When we start saying, I do like me, Thank you for being me. Give yourself that appreciation. Start communicating with your organs within you. You are so much more than just this physical vessel. The physical vessel is absolutely amazing apparatus. It truly is. It is a life of its own. But then we step into it. You know, we step into it. Our souls step into it. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on between us getting back in and also leaving. The other day, somebody was saying to me about, you know, at the end of times we step into the tunnel and we look for the light and we follow the light. But I'm kind of the different sort of thing is like, this is where we're at now. When we're outside, we're off the body, we are in our living space. When we step into the body, that's when we see the light. That's us coming in, being born, birthed, whatever, arriving. You know, having to do it again. You know.
No, completely. I agree with everything that you said. You know, especially when it comes to, you know, when people think the time is done here. I have my own little theory on that. Even the perspective of the prison planet. You know, I was asked about this on a show. And of course, like my response is, it's only a prison if you let it be.
Exactly. It's all up here.
Exactly. So like, I mean, and you know, that people talk about the, like you were saying, going into the light when we leave here, they think it's the reincarnation trap. I think ultimately in my eyes, what happens when we pass from here in that aspect is our emanation. I'm a believer. I've had experiences that this physical vessel is an emanation of some kind.
Yeah.
You know, and our emanation kind of folds in. You know, it folds inward, and we are these immortal spiritual beings. This is just my take. It's the best way I can describe it. You know, but no, exactly. I just wanted to throw that in there. Sorry, my fast brain is going right now.
No, that's good. You don't need to make excuses around here. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah. So,
who's got the oar and who dropped the oar?
So my oar
on the shore somewhere.
I left it on the shore somewhere, but yeah. But no, ultimately, yeah. No, that's why I hear that a lot from people when it comes to these setting things in stones. And I kind of heard you guys bring up, you know, the colors that we wear and stuff too. I think that plays a big part of it. I also think too that we set that intention out there. Yeah. So like, you know, if we are creating this world, you know, through our internal space. Of course, if we're always in a frequency of love, we are creating the external to mirror our internal space. I believe there are certain aspects of this world that we can transmute, that we can rise above. Absolutely. So that's why I do wear black still. And I know a lot of people in the community, they're all like, you know, oh, you shouldn't wear black. Like, you know, or for whatever reason, I've heard people in the community get on me for wearing black before, and I kind of look at them and I'm like, well, you're kind of like setting yourself up for that, you know, like you're putting that imprint into your reality. What were you saying? What do you say, Auric? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So black. So think about it. When your eye looks at black, why do you see black?
The absence of light.
So no, your eye. Yes and no. So when you look at white, your eye is, I believe, being reflected. It's reflecting nothing. It's absorbing everything. I'm trying to remember what that is. So one absorbs all of it, so you see none of it, and the other reflects all of it, so you see all of it. So you either see white. And I know I wear black all the time.
Same.
So, and you know what? If you go to London, you wear anything other than black. I don't know if it's still like that, but you will stick out like a freaking sore thumb.
Yeah.
Everybody wears black, and I wore gosh, I think I had like a red skirt on or something like that, and walking down somewhere. I can't remember where we were at, but it was kind of like everybody was like, I was like, well, what the hell are they looking at me for? And it was like, you're not wearing black. It was like, oh, okay. But I wish I could remember. My brain, I'm having my own little brain fart, but that's kind of the idea of it. But I think it's the white is that I believe that it's either nothing is being reflected or everything is. And I think everything's being pushed out. And then the black, I got to look it up. So why your eyes see, everybody's going to have to look it up because I can't remember. But that's kind of the idea that either you're absorbing all of it or you're reflecting all of it. And that's just how your eye is going to perceive it. So I don't know. There's nothing. It's about wavelength and frequency. So it depends on what it is that you're trying. So maybe if you're wearing black, maybe you want to be hidden.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you're wearing black, are you warm or are you cold?
I'm warm.
So when you're outside, does black absorb the heat?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So I don't see anything wrong in wearing black. Okay. I come from an area called, you'll always find a Westie in black. Okay. You'll always find a bogan and, you always find a Westie in black. Let me just go back.
So I was right. The white reflects. So we're seeing all of the colors.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the black is absorbing all of it. So it's reflecting nothing. So perhaps whatever it is that maybe you need that frequency.
You're feeding.
Exactly.
Right. And as a support system.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you've had the life that you've just described, that makes a lot of sense. So I have an addiction background as well. I ran a residential treatment program. So understanding that and being part of that and overcoming a lot of that and being triumphant in that.
Yeah.
That's all part of that too. It's absorbing what other people have as what you would call your darkness. That can also help us repair our own shadows. Because I truly think that there is still light in the dark.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think there was some guy who did a thing where he went into a completely dark cave for X number of days, and you lose all concept of time. You can see nothing. You have to kind of feel your way around, and they feed you through this little hatch thing, and they close the hatch, and you open, so you're in complete darkness. And the guy actually got to a point after X number of days, because you can go mad in these rooms. You can literally lose it. This guy said he started to see light.
Yes.
He started to see light, and he started to encounter other people, beings, things, whatever. So we are light, and even in this darkness, because our physical eyes can't see it. So just like someone's shadow.
Yeah.
You can't see that. So working with people on parole from some heinous things that they've done through most of their life. The blessing for me is that I get to work with these people who now want to not do those horrible things. So I get to see the human side of these people. And in society, if they knew that they had done those things, they would want to crucify them. And you see the human side. You see that redemption that they find within themselves that society won't give them.
Yeah.
So that's the dark, that we can, in that darkness, see that brilliance coming through.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. I mean, that's the principle of the yin and the yang. I mean, you look at the yin and the yang, you see a little bit of light in the dark, and you see a little bit of dark in the light.
Absolutely.
And that's why too. So like, even though you guys have heard me say darkness and things like that, but I ultimately, that's just how I refer to one end of the polarity spectrum.
Oh yeah.
But ultimately, when we look at it here, and you kind of just nailed it, Auric, with what you were saying, both sides of that polarity spectrum ultimately serve as creation itself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one to, compartmentalize things into absolute good or absolute evil. You know, and one of the examples I've used on my shows before is like, how many times, I even kind of use this example out of the Bible. How many times have you seen God do bad things in order to achieve a good outcome? You know, or whatever it is. And, or how many times have you seen like these different, like these entities that were supposed to be benevolent? If you look at all of the different stuff, that have done not so great things, you know? So like, it's ultimately, it's a balance. Everything ultimately contributes to creation. And, even kind of what you were saying, another example, have you ever had a really bad situation happen to you in your life that actually had like a really amazing silver lining?
Oh yeah.
I am the silver lining, damn it.
but see, a lot of people have experienced that, you know, like something very, what they might perceive as, you know, a very negative scenario, or what they might perceive as something bad happening to them. At the other side, there comes like this ultimate silver lining that, well, yes, they went through with this perceived bad event. This very good thing has happened to them on the other side of that. And also too, how many times have you had something really good happen to you that came with like a massive caveat?
Yeah.
Like, so this is like also too, like the ways that it plays out, you know, when it comes to the balancing of the light and dark as well, and how there is light and darkness, the silver lining in the bad incident, and there is dark in the light, that massive caveat to that really good thing that happened to you. So yeah, we see it play out on all scales. I believe, at least in my train of thought, I do think the prime language of this existence that the divine uses is symbolism. It does use a lot of symbolism and symbolic instances to communicate with us, to teach us, to help us learn. So we see that kind of play out into many different areas of this existence, our internal existence, our external existence. We see the symbolism that's always presented to us. I mean, it could be something mirrored from within us. Like if we're having a struggle within us, it can be mirrored in an external circumstance with a physical struggle that we can see and that we can perceive, and I mean, don't get me wrong, the divine does communicate on a literal level, and the times that I've seen it communicate on a literal level that I've experienced is through a loved one or a friend. That's how it will. Like, have you ever had that that friend or loved one just come up and tell you that thing that you exactly needed to hear to get out of like a sticking point that you were in? I know there are people out there who have experienced that. I have experienced that too. But that's, to me, is the divine working through somebody to communicate with you in a literal sense. But that's kind of what we see play out. I mean, that's why I was, basing off of what Auric said, when it comes to, the light and the dark and the dark and the light. We see that play out in many different symbolic instances in our existence, both internal and external.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got to a stage where I had to find that center point of myself, what people are calling 0 point. And I was like, okay, once I'm here, I can see up, down, and all the way around. And, if I step over here, it's going to be a little bit darker, or I step over here, it's going to be a little bit lighter. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have bad things happen in the light, and it doesn't mean I'm going to have always bad things in the dark, I had to go, okay, well, everything became an adventure. For me to get out of the dark that others had created for me, I had to get out of that. So once I got out of that, it's like I've had encounters where solid forms running, chasing after me, stepping, because we were in another dimension, by the way, stepping through that dimension into my dimension, and me watching them step into this dimension. It was all white behind them. When they stepped out of that into my dimension, they were a shadow being. They weren't a solid being. So I got to see, and it's not just beings from that, it's all different creatures from that dimension when they stepped into our dimension. And I have to ask myself, is our dimension lighter than theirs for me to be able to see them? in a shadow or darker aspect. So, you know, and this is how they see us in some of these other dimensions. Sometimes we'll appear, if we say we're talking about mists or ghost bodies and this sort of thing, this is how we appear in some of the dimensions. We see shadow figures. We appear as shadow figures in some of their realms. I see orbs all the time. I appear, and I've seen it, in other dimensions where they have appeared to me solid beings. I have been the orb, you know, the energy of light, plasma, whatever you want to call us, you know. And so it's like, what have I got? What have I got from this experience that's going to enrich me and move me forward? Because that's where I'm living. I want to be able to recognize the detriment or the darker sides that come in that are going to hold us back from actually being everything that we can possibly achieve and be. All right. But we've got to have some of this other stuff to be able to remind us, because I feel that there was a time when we all lived in absolute harmony. We were telepathic. It was like, it was my utopia anyway, in my head, my Garden of Eden, let's say. And we were infiltrated because we didn't know what we had. We didn't know the extent of what we had in Eden that we were in at that time. And so it was taken from us. But we are now living in a stage where we can recognize all the bullshit, excuse the French, and we can say no to that contract, no to that agreement, no to whatever isn't sitting right with you to advance yourself into the next level. One of the things I looked at is, because, as you're aware, my beef was with my higher self. But at that stage, working through psychology, I was passing the buck for the treatment that I had received at other people's hands. So when I found my higher self, she turned around and redirected me.
That'll happen, yeah.
Yeah, you go back down there and you start again. And so when I did this, I got more respect, I got more courtesy, I found my moral compass. That's not saying I didn't always have some sort of morals and so forth out there of my own, but I took it to another level, right? I took it to another level. What do I want to be while I'm here having this earth experience? You know, I have to be able to communicate with all the beings around me, because you can say something so simple and totally genuine and nice and respectful to somebody, and if they're not in the right headspace, boom, it's World War III, all right? And it's absolute rubbish. And so it's like, okay, you can only do it so long before you turn around and say, no, come on, leave. You go and get some help somewhere else. I can't invest my time anymore because I found value. I found value in myself. If I'm going to treat, you know, I want to treat others out there as I treat myself. Now, you were talking earlier about scriptures and stuff. I don't really do the whole Bible thing anymore, but I have to say that keeping my moral compass incorporates commandments, 10 commandments. But I read them on a different level. Like when I go to do a prayer, I don't pray to my food, for where, you know, I give thanks. I give thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I know what it is not to eat, and I know what it is to eat. When I put something in my mouth after 3 days of fasting or 52 days of fasting, I just burst into tears every time. It's so emotional. It's like that last cleansing aspect that comes out and washes out. So then I can take in that fruit, that vegetable, whatever, and I can taste the life in it. I know that sounds really horrific, but
no, that's I completely get it. No, I don't do. So I want to clarify on that. I don't do the Bible thing anymore. But this is the thing. So I'm a believer that Christ supersedes the Bible, and that Christ is what I would call a layer of this reality, a state of being, and a state of consciousness. That's what I feel Christ is. I actually, because I came from the Orthodox and the Catholic background, Yes, it was not fun.
Yeah.
I've seen some stories of corruption in the church too. At that time, it was interesting. I actually remember a Orthodox priest was trying to haggle and auction off church items during a mass for money for himself. Yeah, no, even at 11 years old, I knew there was something wrong with that. I was like, no, there's something wrong going on here. But one of the biggest things I talk about on my show a lot is I talk about what true Christ is, because I feel that modern Christianity is an absolute far cry from the original philosophy that it once was, the original spirituality that it once was. And so that's why I'm kind of chock full of Bible references, because I've done research on the pre-Nicene texts, the ante-Nicene fathers, actually Arianism, which was a early Christian spirituality that got snuffed out by the Council of Nicaea. And actually Arianism could have given way to what true Christ is, because in Arianism they believed Christ was born at the beginning. He was not incarnated later on, or he was not born into existence later on. That Christ has always been here since the beginning. And even if you look at some of the Gnostic Christian scriptures, like in the secret book of John, it talks about how actually Christ told Adam and Eve to eat from the tree. It was not Lucifer, it was not Satan, because in the Gnostic concept of it, the God of the Old Testament is a demiurge. He's not the real God. He's a being that's posing as God. Yeah. And Christ freed Adam and Eve from the false unity consciousness that they were in at that time, to ultimately fall, which was in some ways, when we kind of break it down, it was a good fall, because it broke us out of that and it started sending us upwards in consciousness. So that's why I have a lot of Bible references. I've done an extensive amount of research on the Bible. It's probably the biggest one I have. So yeah, that's why I was just throwing that in there. So, but no, the Ten Commandments are very, yeah.
And Stone, you were talking about orbs earlier, and how the concept of where, depending on where your perspective was as to who was the orb. So I saw Kalani, the ghost hunter. I saw him locally here in Michigan, and talked to him and his wife for a while. One of the things he said he didn't get into, one of the videos he had done, was one of the entities was very aggressive. They didn't show it in the video because it was out and already there, that it actually made physical contact with him and had actually, I think it scratched him or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, this stuff is like real, because I think he was a real skeptic for a lot of years. I can't really speak for him, but one of the interesting things that he had said was they had encountered an entity in one particular location where that entity, or that whoever it was talking to them and asking them questions. And the reason they were asking he and his wife questions was they were starting to be chased by him. And they kind of started to have this dialogue where they were seeing this other person, being, entity, as a shadow being, and they saw them as shadow beings. So it was all about the frequency and where they were located at, and their interpretation as to what was going on. So a lot of it does have to do with where this is at and how you're going to treat that. It's about your perspective and getting that balance, like you said, Stephen. It's definitely that balance and raising your awareness of what that is, what it means, and not putting a moral judgment on it, because that's what you said. You know, how many times have you had something good happen and then you have a bad ending to it? Personally can speak to that very recently, and it was pretty horrible. But then again, the bad part on the end of that now has shifted into a space where it's been a learning, something very much learning. And it's not, this is the caveat for me, is that not using moral judgments and moral judgment words like good and bad. It was something that may have been challenging. It may have been something that I learned from, whether it was something that was challenging or pleasant to deal with. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that. What is that movie? It's an old movie, The Agony and the Ecstasy. You know, that's pretty much life in and of itself. And it's going to depend on how you're going to receive it. and how you're going to choose to retrieve it too, because you got to go after it. If you want it, go after it, get it. It's up to you.
What you're saying there is, it took me back onto spell casting. Once we see the power in the words that we use, then we change our vocabulary. We change the intent behind the word when we use it. Like we might have thought in the old days were just, haphazard word, da-da-da-da. And then it's like, oh no, because now I am very aware that when I speak something, I'm creating a ripple effect. And that ripple effect affects me first. And then it affects the dimensions that I go into. And then it affects the person I'm speaking to, whether it's in person or through the internet. This is how powerful we truly are. This is what the industries out there don't want us to be aware of, and why they try to shut us down using our abilities. Just stepping 100%. In and saying thank you to ourselves every day. That's like, what a change. Telling yourself that you give respect, you give consideration, all the things that we were told we were meant to have as children. All right, now we're now those caregivers of those children. We have to step back in and repair the work and say, it's all right, little stone, pebble, it's all right, little pebble, you're going to grow up to be a big rock someday. We can do that. We can now encourage our child aspect. And if you say something nice to your inner child every night, you'll find it within the first couple of days, all of a sudden something that you used to be doing is now so easy, and it's upgraded because your whole perception of what it was that you were doing has changed. You've helped your inner child, so somewhere along between that and this, in that dimensional aspect, has righted itself. And you are going to step back into the best possible version of yourself that you would have, could have, should have, and are now.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's how I see. And when you were talking about the orbs, sorry, I'll just be real quick, and then you go back in. With the orbs, when they first started showing up to me in mass, I was terrified. I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was okay. These are all the angels coming to take me out, and this is, you've got X amount of weeks to do it, and we'll show up again. And they just kept showing up. But in the photos, when I look into them, there are other creatures inside. Because of the mass flood around me of them, it's like smudging. So when they create the smoke, you can actually see the silhouette of other beings standing there. So when I first encountered this type of flood of orbs, I then stepped into seeing that there was a lot more that was at play. Then I got to see the ships that some of these dimensionals come in, and they look just like orbs, but they pulse. They don't just move straight and with no pulsing. They actually pulse like a ship. And then I went into the hatching, and if I have a look at the orbs, there's a line that goes through some of these orbs. You can see there's another ship inside it. And so they were hatching out and then going off and morphing into something else. So our energy, what we have here, is absolute creation. For those beings to be able to come into our realm, be able to harness the energy, and then be able to morph into something that'll be able to eventually communicate with us, I think is absolutely phenomenal. We're living in a time where the Fae return. And yeah, that's what you gave me anyway. So yes. We are coming up to the 2-hour mark, and we haven't done any cards or any form of divination. I suppose what we've been saying is forms of divination, really. So I'm not sure where you two are at, whether you want to do a divination, whether you want to carry on the conversation.
So, I mean, totally up to you guys. I gotta hop off here and take care of some stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to thank you guys for having me. This is a fun time. It was nice to meet you, Auric, for sure.
Stephen, it was nice to have you.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And no, I like
It's good
you
to be
two's
had now and again.
For sure, guys. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this as well. Give Stone and Auric a like, a follow, a subscribe, whatever network you are on. And if you guys want to find me, I'm part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. If you know Chris Matthew, Forbidden Knowledge News, Ryder Lee, Raised by Giants, all them, I am on their network. So www.forbiddenknowledge.news. And you can find me on all major podcast platforms under BGcast, Rumble and YouTube under BGcast. And you can find me on all social media under BGcast. And you two ladies have a wonderful night. And thanks again. I look forward to doing this. I'd like to have the both of you on next time if you guys are available. So,
well, I want to say thank you for coming on and being a guest. And yes, absolutely, totally loved it last time. Anytime you need us, mate, just hit us up. You know, anytime you just want to chat, anytime you just want to let's go there.
Hopefully I'll be fed next time and my brain will be like turning just a little bit more. But yeah, no. Other than that, you guys have a great night. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thank you.
See you later, buddy.
Yeah.
See ya.
So, all right. So
it's up to you as to what you want to do. As far as what would you want to pull for? What are you pulling for? What are you pulling for here? And by the way, you always say forgive my French when you say bullshit. So I actually put in the chat. What I believe that word is in French.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce it because I don't do French.
Is that true?
Yeah.
More.
You could put a D in there. You could put a D in there. You could say Trudeau, right?
No, I'm not going to bastardize a beautiful language.
No, and yeah, a lovely language, but I'm definitely not up to it after being up since whatever hour it was. But it seems like some of us just like fasting for food. It seems that right now my brain and body operates quite well fasting on sleep. There have been some sleep fasts this week. There's been a lot of cerebral disruptions where I will wake up in the middle of the night and be like, holy cannoli, what the heck is that? And it's not at normal time. So the other night, I don't know if it was last night or not, you said something like rest well. And it's like an hour and a half later, I wake up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like 4 hours later. No, it's 90 freaking minutes later. And then I realize after you're up for a few minutes, you just kind of feel everything just kind of way down again. So and then when it's time to get up, it's like, okay, I got to figure this out because you got to be on your game, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be out with people. You gotta be on your game. Yeah. Like I said, especially when you're walking into some place and they're all telling you, we just called the police.
Oh no, man. Oh jeez.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Okay. But you know, it's all good. As far as what would we decide what is relevant for the collective, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there are challenging times ahead. I think that challenging times, just like you said, if you want this to be your hell, it will be. If you want this to be your heaven, it will be. So that's my choice. I will take the latter. And if you don't like I think we're authors of our life. And when we take that by the cojones, as it were, with both hands, and we don't like the script, we're the author, so rewrite it.
Well, that's the whole thing about the Akashic records. If once you're aware that there is some sort of record and you want to keep it, you want to keep the right record of how you felt, what your experiences were while you were here. Were they good, bad, ugly? What was the growth that, you discovered from it? Could you have improved it? Should it show itself again? It's like recognizing our footprint while we're here. So
yeah, just change your freaking shoes already.
Run around barefoot, mate.
Yeah. Take the shoes off, take the socks off.
Yeah. Enjoy that.
And like really make it happen. But look at that, justice. But I really think that that's accurate, that we do have the ability to rewrite and make the choice as to what we want to do with this. Right now, I'm, because I don't just watch one, I watch a whole bunch of different modalities and a whole bunch of different people and a whole bunch of different characters and characteristics and all that stuff. And when you start seeing that common thread along all of these people, and it's not just on YouTube, if you go on to different platforms, you can see that all these different people from all over the world, and they have that common thread of that message. That's what you can grasp onto and work with that within yourself as to what you want to. Did he say embody?
Yep. Yeah.
So that's a word that I have been using a lot.
Yeah.
So embodying within your essence, and ultimately he used a different word for essence, but that's ultimately what I was exactly saying that same thing for I don't know how many weeks or months or whatever.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I do know. Yeah. I think you used it last show, embodiment. Yeah. But
embody, you have to embody. And the embodiment starts with that essence, that self that has the control, the one that's rewriting the script or writing the script. And you're either going to allow it to happen or you're going to make it happen.
Yeah. What's important to you? What do you want? What do you want out of life? That's anyway, I did a reading.
Yep.
I pulled one and I got, okay, now this is several different modalities I've used to do this reading. Yep. And I got Hagalaz, the rune bone, which is ice, winter, testings, delay, and challenges. And then on the Oracle card, I got let go. I'll read that one in a minute. Oh, no, I'll read it right now. Okay, let go of negative influences. Let go of negative influences. Be mindful of who you spend your time with. And then the next one was a book, and I took a reading from Carl Sagan. And it was listen to your significant ideas. And that was remarkable abilities to work out all scientific issues. And then the last one I got was the animal cards. I got an animal pact, and I got the zebra, which is open-mindedness. Allow yourself to see, accept alternative viewpoints, new ways to resolve old problems. So, and this was pulled for the collective. So a lot of places are going into winter, and they've got the ice, and they've got the landslides and earth changes that are going on. There's a lot of testing times. People are losing everything. They've been completely displaced. Delays in being able to get when I say coverage, I mean like support, rescue, help, housing, food, the basic necessities of life. And then we go, let go. So let go of negative influences. Be mindful who you spend your time with. So at the end of the time, are they a psychic vampire? Are they going to suck and drain your energy, your will to actually get up and rearrange the devastation around you and put a roof over your head? Because if they are, they're not working in your best interest. So the next one I got was the remarkable ability to work, so we've got the answers. We know how to move forward with any opportunity, any challenge, or anything that shows itself. And then with the other one is allow yourself an alternative viewpoint. So with the last two, they fit nicely with everything else. So there's all this, I see this dark, this challenging times, this testing, emotional, and there's a lot of emotional provocation going out there at the moment. We are finding out faster and faster what our toleration levels are. We don't tolerate the same stuff we did yesterday. We now say, hey, look, this is my time. It's precious time. Respect that. If you don't stay within the boundaries, adios amigos, and just don't even bother me again. So this is where we're stepping into. We're saying, okay, we've got balls, and we're going to say no. If we want to help others, and we're helping ourselves, and if the others out there aren't helping themselves, you move on. Now, and then the last one, we listen, be observant. Observe the situations around you. Observe the conversations, your environment, what's happening around you. Be alert to new ideas that come your way. Be watchful of these new ideas, because they might be introducing a new form of technology which comes along with its own handicaps. So be aware of your wellness, is what that's saying. So all of this chaos that's going on, I, as a human here having this experience, feel that we're going to get through whatever they are throwing at us. I was going to go into a conversation. I wanted to pick his brains actually on this 3IA Atlas because it's taking some new changes. So that'll be quite interesting what's going to reveal itself. But be careful of what does reveal itself, because it may just be another form of illusion. So that was my reading for today, the crazy day. It is my 111 here. And in New Zealand, that is our emergency number. Oh, I can't read it. It's back to front. Be mindful.
No, it's 111, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sitting here holding this card. It's 111. And
Right.
we've been talking about this. You've just been talking about this. Be mindful of your thoughts. Keep them positive as you are manifesting quickly. So the whole thing is about your thoughts are things, and the more that the collective dwells on something and believes in something, that is what is going to manifest. So if enough people believe in this illusion that they are presenting as something that's coming, it's going to manifest.
Yeah.
So if you don't want it, stop it.
Yeah.
Mind your thoughts. Be aware of your thinking. That's the power. That's what it's about, taking our power back. That's it right there. 150 million, thousand, bajillion. And then 2020, push harder.
Oh,
right? Push harder. Don't give up. So no matter what you see out in the world, no matter what they try to propagandize in the so-called popular media, mainstream media, alternative media, it's all media. It's all about who's going to collect the greatest attention. Somebody asked me, are you upset when nobody watches your videos? And it's like, well, I think everybody watches my videos who's going to watch my videos. And just because they're out there and nobody watches them the day I put them up, or if I do a live, I'm going to get a lot of hits later. Because and people are going to find that stuff when they need to find it. That's the idea of it. It's not about me getting instant gratification. It's me sustaining that manifestation mindset and pushing harder and continuing to do it. Don't give up. Don't give in. You have all that you need to make your dreams a reality. We are everything.
Yeah.
We are God. We are goddess. We have the embodiment of that. And if we are source pushed out a version of that. Any people use the word fractal, and that kind of puts in your mind that you are apart from. No, we are not. We are all connected. We can't physically see it or feel it. Well, some of the stuff we do, that, you know what I mean? You can tell. There's a lot of things that you can tell, and you've been connected with people who are outside of this 3D realm that you've been made aware of. And you know, it's kind of like, well, why did I have to see that crap? You know, and that's, again, that's just your personal experience. I'm good with it. I don't have to go through that. Please and thank you. You know what I mean? But that's the idea. That's the unique experience. We're here for something different. We're here for something different, and we are here to make the difference. But it's got to start with that thought process, and not giving in, not giving up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, well, that was really good. I like that. That actually sits with everything that we've discussed today. I mean, and it is. We don't give up. Keep going. And what you were saying about the views and stuff, those that are meant to hear it will find it. Okay? They will find it. This is one of the reasons I do it. I'm not worried about numbers and significances like that. It's like,
talking about what's popular, I don't want to talk about what's popular. I want to see what you're looking at and what am I supposed to be looking at, because you're distracting me, and I'm, you know, maybe I'm supposed to be looking over there.
Yeah. What was that satellite that just went over?
Oh, then I'm looking at the ground. All right.
Oh dear. No. Oh, anyway, I don't know where else you'd like to go with this. This was a good show today, a good company had by all, I would say. And are you ready to wrap it up, or?
We are, I think, because it has been a hot minute. We're over 2 hours, I think, now.
Yeah.
So 9/11 here now.
9/11. Oh, it's 2/11 on the 1st of the 11th. So
well, I guess technically it's actually 11 12. No, it's 21. Is it 21? Yeah, it's 21.
20.
I'm fried. I've been up since 3. Okay.
Yeah.
3 a.m. So I'm working the 18-hour wakefulness thing, and I'm probably not going to go to sleep for a while. But anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we are done and dusted. And if you wanted to catch up tomorrow, just let me know. I know that's not worked out for us in the last.
No, it hasn't.
But excuse me. Yeah.
Unexpected, things to deal with. But anyway, it's coming right. Yeah. Anyway, all good. Don't let it worry. It's just another adventure. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Like, share, subscribe, all that hot business, and
thank you everybody who has participated today. Oh God, my words are freaking this. Anyway, thank you everyone who participated, and we will see you again. If you would like to come on the show sometime, drop Auric Vibe or myself a message, and let's see what we can get happening. All right, we do have a couple of other people lined up in the next couple of weeks, but that's yet to be discussed, or finalized. Yes. So have a fantastic, your Halloween Eve, your Halloween night tonight, and tomorrow, happy 1st of November.
All Saints Day.
Okay, yep, all right, yep. See what happens.
Y'all on the flip side then.
See us all again. Okay, I'm going to press